Hello, everyone, and welcome to Yagna's webinar series. Today, we're going to discuss how a vendor can easily set up a marketplace where their vendors and resellers can view, modify, and create automated quotes for their customers. All of that at scale. So with Renewal Cloud, partners and customers will enjoy a frictionless experience regardless of the size of their renewal opportunities. So today, we're really fortunate to have with us Manish Agrawal. He's Yagna's Chief Technology Officer and co-founder, and he's here to discuss how the Renewal Cloud has helped dozens of companies and their partners create automated routines which have increased renewal rates and recurring revenue through their channel partners in as little as 1 quarter. And today we're going to discuss how that platform is really transformed into a self-service marketplace, which allows channel partners to manage their customers' renewals. So Manish, it's great to have you with us today. Your team has been, working on channel automation for the better part of 5 years. So what's the first step a company takes in their journey to help boost their renewal sales?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Patrick, for having me here. So the first step, I would say, starts with understanding the problem. Why renewal in the channel is so challenging, why it is so tough. And I often say this, that when renewal comes to the channel, it is a reactive, the whole motion is reactive versus proactive. And why it happens is even if you as a vendor, you are pushing a lot of, say, install-based data, renewal data, quotes, when it comes to channel, think about it. They have these thousands of contracts or subscription that they have to work on it. They have to convert all these into their own formats, their currencies, their margins, terms and conditions, taxation. There are so many things. Because of this, what happens, think about it, when these numbers turn to hundreds and thousands, and somebody has to do it manually, they start to pick and choose. They start to cherry pick. So they start to say like, okay, I'm going to work on my, 70% of the deals, which are, I would say, big value deals. And the rest of your high volume, low dollar kind of deal, you don't even, care because you can't. And this is where Yagna comes in, where we say like, okay, what happens that all these things, even if high value deals, you are interacting with your customer, how about sending them even simple things like reminders? How about talking to your customers or resellers, depending on who you are in the channel, right? If I'm a distributor, I'll be interacting with my reseller. If I'm a reseller, I'm talking to my customer. How do I going to send them all this notification? I'm going to send them code. And I'm going to track what is happening in the channel. This is where, when we started Yagna, we started focusing on renewal automation. And as part of renewal automation, what we actually did, we brought in a complete set of renewal automation where we are ingesting data from the vendors like yourself. Once that data is ingested, we are 90 days out, 120 days out, automatically in bulk, we start to send notification. When the time comes closer for renewal, maybe 30 days, 45 days, we start to send a disti price quote or reseller price quote to the customers, to your customers. We also start to track who is looking at your renewal opportunity, whether they are opening, they are not opening. So there are the whole complete motion starts. And we also detect whether somebody is interested. So we have all this AI inbuilt into the platform, and platform detects who is interested, who is not interested, the whole churn propensity. And based on that, we start to kind of alert your team saying, this renewal is not going to close because of this reason. So this is what we have done as part of Yagna IQ Renewal Cloud. And I'm showing you right now a quick screen which shows like how this whole thing works. So once the data is ingested into Yagna, so what happens? 90 days out, 120 days out, we create kind of renewal opportunities. These renewal opportunities look like the way you can see in the screen. There are contracts, when it's expiring, and it can be SaaS, like subscription or contract, right? Yeah. You can have your customers, your POCs, customer POC, because you need to contact them. Opportunity size, different things like code, email activity. Interested to renew is like we are tracking whether this customer has whether they have intent to renew or not. So all those things, goes on. this is how the renewal opportunity looks like. Now, let me quickly show you how Yagna does the whole automation, right? So let's move to the next
Okay, so
one.
we've got the data that's all come in. We format it in the way we want to based on what the data looks like. So that screen you were showing us before, we can change that, modify that to whatever what fits the data and what the screens we want. So now it's in the platform. How do we automate that?
So we can we can quickly show you a screen that so basically what we
Oh,
have
okay.
something called Journey Builder. So
Yeah.
this journey builder is basically every single organization, channel organization, even vendors, they can create their customized journey workflows. Like these are basically your renewal workflows. And this dictates how your whole renewal motion going to take place. Say, for example, when I'm doing automation and I'm dealing with, say, hundreds and thousands of these, contracts and subscription, this screen is where it's a simple drag and drop screen, and you can define that like what is shown in the screen right now. You can see there's a renewal pipeline. You can send a notification. After 10 days, you can send, quote. And depending on the quote volume, you can have like things like you can insert payment into it and send email. If you really see the deal values are big, you can route it to some, renewal sales rep saying, hey, this is not something for automation. Probably you should pick up a call because it's a big deal and reach out. So what happens? Our platform has everything. You can define it in this journey builder, and whether it is you want to take an automation route or you want to take a normal, some sales rep reaching that route, everything can be configured in the screen.
Okay. So, well, that looks. So this is it. So this is what we after the automation. This is it. Go ahead. This looks interesting.
So what happens? So once the automation is done, this is one example that how you have these hundreds and thousands of contracts, how these contracts they reach customer, or even it can be reaching to resellers. So you can see here there is a customer name, and this is example for a reseller, right? They can access their code. There is a download link, and they can also point out based on suppose they pick the phone, talk to the customer, they said they are not interested to renew. They can even point out that. So on the platform, you can see here, they can not only they can go to a portal or they can receive an email and get all this data.
Wow. So that looks simple and complicated at the same time. But so how does Renewal Cloud, how does it get its data? Where's it getting the data from initially?
So as you know, Patrick, automation starts with data.
Yeah.
So we ingest data in different formats, right? So the data may be coming to our platform via simple CSV. It can come through entitlement database, like which may be residing on an ERP system, or it can be coming through any CRM system. So we are integrated with pretty much all the leading CRM and ERP systems. So we can read data from there, or typically what we do when we start, we tell companies that, okay, let's do phase one standalone where you just give us CSV dump and let us show us our magic. Once we start to do all the things, automation, we start to, churn, all these automation mails. Then we come back and in phase two, we start to integrate and get all the entitlement data automatically in our platform, and we do other things.
Through APIs and things. Got it. Okay. So I saw what happens. So the partner gets the email. Either it goes from the distributor to the partner. So once the partner gets that email, now it's great if that's all they want is the quote. They just download the quote and send it. What if they got to make changes? What if the customer says, "Well, I want to make a changes. I want to upsell. I want to add some services, change some service." How does that work? What does that look like?
Perfect. So, Patrick, so what we do is once, say, for example, once we push, you saw all this automation, and once the codes and contracts and subscriptions are pushed, we are pushing to a portal as well. So we are sending as an email, as well as we are sending to it a portal also, and which is in our marketplace. So what happens? If resellers, they want to interact with our platform, they can just go, you saw in earlier thing, there was an edit code, they can just click and single click, they can onboard themselves. So there is no onboarding required, not a lot of training. It is like a self-serve platform. So they can just click on a simple click, they get onboarded onto the platform. And now what happens? Now they start to see all the channel partners. They start to see their incumbent, all the contracts and subscription. So this is, one example. This is how they start to see every single thing which is assigned to them by the either distributor or vendor themselves.
Yeah,
Now,
Swati, that might be a little easier to see if you put that in presentation mode for the viewers.
yeah. Okay. So now you can see simple things that resellers can do. They can add their customer POCs. Like say, for example, as we know, customer POC and margins are the secret sauce in the channel. Nobody wants to share
Yeah.
customer point of contacts and their margins. So Yagna kind of protects that kind of data. Like every organization, they have their own. So when they put their POCs, it is never shared with anyone. It is only their organization that they see it. So you can see here a simple screen where somebody can go, I'm a reseller, I can go and update my customer POC. And of course, we have ways to collect this data in bulk. So you can do a CSV upload and all those things are there as well.
Got it. So if the vendor has the customer point of contact, we'll include that if it comes in the file, but oftentimes, the reseller knows a different point of contact for the renewal, the sale, and they can go in at scale on themselves and make this. They don't have to be dependent. They don't have to go anywhere. They just go into the platform and make that change. Got it.
Exactly. So now there are other things also that this particular, say, for example, things like consolidation, right? So if I have to do, as a reseller, I'm seeing, okay, for this customer, I have multiple different contracts or subscription coming up. How do I consolidate? So Yagna platform, you can come in, you can just say, you can see here button, which clearly says that, hey, you have this consolidation available. And then you can start the whole motion of consolidating your contracts. You can get consolidated codes and you can do various things. You can also do other things like, let's keep moving. So say, for example, what if I have a renewal? I bought, suppose, 100 licenses. 100 licenses are coming up for renewal. What if I want to buy 20 new licenses? So you can also add some new licenses to your renewal. You can remove some licenses. You have some certain new serial number, you can add it. You can remove some serial number. All those things, all these things, resellers, they can do it themselves. We'll move on. Yes. You can also see that they will be also able to change services. Like I want to do service upsell. I was earlier, I was 12 months. I want now 36 months. Earlier, I was at base level. Now I want at pro level. All those things can be done. I can change my total terms for subscription and those other things as well here.
Okay, so it has access to the price list as well. So the resellers can pull in the price list and add those right off of the vendor's price list or the distributor's price list. Got it. Interesting.
And then, of course, you have things like you can manage versions, or resellers can manage versions. So if you see the whole platform, right, what we are talking about is vendor is pushing data, but what happens when it goes to the channel? So this is what we are talking about, that how reseller can pretty much self-serve. They can do everything on their own so that they are not reaching vendor every single day for the code, for the consolidation, small changes. And that's where the delay and the renewal rate you see starts to drop because of all these delays in.
Especially if they're negotiating, right? They're negotiating with a customer on something, and every iteration requires them to go back and if they can manage that, and it looks like they can have multiple versions that they can deal with here as well.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So, well, that's interesting. We got that. We also need to be able to, forecast this stuff, right? That's always the hard part, especially in the long tail that you're talking about. I like that idea where the email, either the customer or the reseller can tell you whether they're interested to renew or not, which is very helpful. I saw that can pop in, especially when you're trying to forecast, at scale things. Visibility, my gosh, from a vendor's perspective, it's always the most difficult thing and the most important to scale and accurately forecast through the channel. What is that visibility? You were talking a lot about visibility. What does that look like?
So today, the biggest challenge, I think, for vendors when it comes to renewal and renewal in channel, Patrick, I believe is the visibility. So when vendors, they have all the data, they will push, okay, this thing is coming up. They will either send Excel, they may be pushing on their portal, everything is fine. Problem starts after that, because at that point of time, they push the data, and after they don't know that what is happening to that data. And because they don't know what is happening to the data till the order comes or doesn't come,
Or
what
doesn't come.
happens?
Yeah.
Yes, so there is always this uncertainty, and there is little they can do about if the renewal. Some deals can be saved, some deal can be pushed, but they can't do much because they don't even know what is happening. And this is the problem that Yagna, our channel platform that we solved with Renewal Cloud, that let me show you a quick screen where we are giving a complete end-to-end visibility to every single player. Say, for example, if we are talking about, say, vendor, this is the screen for vendor. So if you see here, when I'm looking for every contract and subscription, you can see my engagement with the distributor. Then you see my engagement, distributor engagement with reseller, and reseller engagement with the customer.
All the way through the channel, you can see what point of the system, who's touching it, what they're doing with it. That can be
Exactly.
very helpful.
Yes. So every player is getting the complete visibility on how this deal, this renewal contract or subscription is flowing through the channel. Remember, even though we are showing the status of these deals, and there are so many different factors based on which we create this, we are very mindful of the fact that channel is very sensitive about, as I earlier said, about their margins and their point of contact. We do not share this data. However, we share the status that, what is happening on the deal, whether they have, sent a mail, whether that mail was read, whether it was pushed to a portal, whether that somebody opened that code, they worked on it, what is happening. So this gives a complete 360-degree view of what is happening with your contracts and, renewal in the channel. So this is where the visibility I'm talking about, and this is completely missing today. Nobody knows what is happening once it is pushed. So this is, very important feature. I would say that, all the vendors who are on our platform, they absolutely like.
Wow. And so this is deal by deal. How do we look at that in aggregate? Because we're talking scale, right? How do we look at these are individual deals, which is interesting to have all this, as you're drilling down on it. But now I'm the executive, and I just need to see, what's the world look like?
Correct. So let me take you to the dashboard, that how the dashboard looks like. So if you see, this is, one example of our dashboard. And remember, every single entity who works on Yagna, whether it's a vendor, is a distributor, reseller, every single organization, they get their own dashboard depending on their data view, right? And where they can see like how many are, open, close, what is happening when we are saying leads. Basically, these are renewal opportunities here. And who is working on it, what is the total opportunity value, and various things you can do. So this entire thing that we are doing also goes into a nice dashboard that you have access to. So if you want to do your, say, for example, QBRs, cadence calls, this is, that's what we hear from our customers, that this is the dashboard they go to pull all the data. Otherwise, they spend a week collecting the data for the quarter. Here, all the data isn't right in front of you all the time.
I can see like at end of quarter, you talked about QBRs, that's after the quarter, but end of quarter, we call them war rooms. So, you if you're waiting for a renewal to close and you're a month out and you see that nobody's opened it, nobody's touched it, nothing's happening with it, we can flag it as high risk and put that into a focus to go close, right? So we don't have to worry about the 90% that is happening flow, but that 10% that's at risk, we can start focusing our energies on that and have that visibility before the end of the quarter. And that really can help us, focus in our energies at the end of the quarter where time is so precious for these things.
Very well said, Patrick. Yes.
That's really good. Well, hey, this is really interesting. And let's see, we're getting down to, we wanted to keep this, with inside of 30, 40 minutes, but then the next, 10 minutes, we're kind of running out of time here, but I wanted to ask you, how the automation is transformed into a marketplace, right? How did that happen, right? So I understand how the automation can drive, a better partner and customer experience and then increase that renewal rates. But can you talk about how the platform evolved and how it is evolving, not only, into this self-service, but also into a multi-vendor self-service? And, what are the benefits to the channel partners and the benefits to other vendors in a multi-vendor environment, in fact?
So if you see, Patrick, the whole renewal and recurring revenue market has been evolving, right? So we are talking about maintenance renewal, then it went to SaaS renewal. Now we see X as a service a lot. And our product has been evolving along, right? It's very funny that when we started almost, 4 years ago, we thought that, okay, here are my contracts, a subscription. I do just regular renewal. I kind of put it in my engine and it will send bulk emails and put it in the portal and renewal will happen. What we learned that every single contract, every single renewal, most of it needs some changes. It needs some, edits. It needs to be upsold. It needs to be made into, you have to turn into a consolidated
Bigger
contract.
opportunity, in fact. It's a point of inflection when the customer's open and they're willing to hear about other things. The whole customer success motion that has really been building over the last 5 years has changed the way we look at renewals quite a bit, right?
Correct. So that's how. So I already showed you that we built all this functionality where a reseller or even end customer can make changes to these contracts and subscriptions, and they can kind of self-serve themselves, especially when it's low dollar. They want to do it themselves because you don't want to be getting involved in those, right? Then so once we got that done, the second thing what we realized that when these resellers are working, they are not dealing with just one vendor. You are just one of the vendor for them. They work with, typical reseller will work with some tens of vendors. And their thing was that every vendor, they have some kind of a portal. We don't want another portal. So it is like portal of, the 1,000 portal problem that we call it. So that's when we said, okay, we will, turn our product into a marketplace, which is a multi-vendor renewal marketplace. Means every single vendor, when they are pushing their data, it is coming to one unified platform where a reseller can log in and they don't just see one vendor's data and renewal, what is coming up and how to automate it further to their customer, but they can see all the vendor in one place. And this is where we moved from a portal type system to a marketplace where it is for the channel. It is a multi-vendor system because they don't want to go to so many hundreds of portal to interact. So that's how it evolved.
Yeah, so we're not necessarily for a reseller, not necessarily dependent on getting all the data directly from the vendor, but the reseller has other options and other sources, and they can turn that into multi-vendor if I'm a reseller. And that has a lot to do with, their willingness to adopt, any new technologies. Because again, back to that 1,000 portal, issue that you were talking about. So this has been fantastic. Do we have time to take a couple of questions here, Manish? Swati, I think I see a couple of questions coming in here.
Yes, Patrick, we have 2 questions. So
let me, I see it here. So, this just ties into what we were just talking about, right? So who's generating the source data for the quote, right? Do we use a vendor price list or vendor quotes? I mean, so this is always data, as you talked about, right? Where does that data come from? And then how do we get all that downstream information, if you will, with the terms of margins and buy price, etc. I'll let you take that one.
So if you see, right, so Yagna, we have capability where we can take a vendor price list and we can build quotes of it, right? So say, for example, vendor publishes a price list. Suppose I'm a distributor. Of that price list, I may have my buy prices. And then, automatically I can apply based on my partner levels and their certification. I may have some discount and build all these quotes. We can push those quotes out. And the same thing resellers can do as well. We also have different ways, like another thing that I was talking about earlier about the AI, we have what we call it request for quote kind of features, where even if a resellers, they are suppose dependent for pricing on a distributor, and they want to use our platform, they can very well use it because the Yagna can automatically push request for quote to the distributors. And once they respond, using our AI models, we automatically read any kind of formats which is coming from distributor and automate this whole quoting and pricing process on the reseller end as well. So there are different ways you can use list price from the vendor, you can get prices from distributor, you can do RFQ. So there are, a bunch of different ways we can do that.
Yeah, so that's a big part of the adoption for resellers, being able to automate all of that from all their vendors and all their suppliers as well. Got it. Yeah. Let me get another one here. I got one. Can we send structured notifications to end user customers using a reseller's branding and their own, everybody has their own terms and conditions, languages, currency conversions. I'll let you answer that one, but as well. So structured notifications to end users with the branding. So I think we talked about that earlier. So not only just the quote, but sometimes just doing both the notification and then the quote, right?
That's correct. So from our platform, you can send notification to the end customers or resellers. If you remember, I showed a journey builder. So reseller can build these automation and journey builder, and via that, they can push all the notification and codes and reminders, everything to their end customers. And remember the good news, end customer, especially on high volume, low dollar deals, end customer can edit codes themselves as well. So it is not just we are sending them notification. We have capability where end customers can self onboard themselves and quickly make changes to the code, get the latest prices, and place order.
That sounds easy for the customers. Let's see, I got another one that just came in too. Thank you. I like this one. So it's worded as, does the dashboard capture actual client feedback? But I think it's really when we push the emails out, we showed an example of I intend to renew, don't intend to renew. Can we capture other feedback from the customers in that transaction? In other words, we send an email to either the reseller or even the customer, and they go click a button that says, I want to renew. They may even say, I'm not the right person, send it to this person, right? We can capture that. Can we capture virtually anything at scale, right? I'm not renewing because I could hold out a pull down and go, I'm not renewing because I bought a competitor product, I'm not using it anymore. Can we capture that kind of feedback at scale as well?
So when we showed you, there are just yes and no, right? Where the intent to renew. So the moment you click on it, it asks you more questions like, why you don't want to renew. And it tries to capture that why customer is interested or not interested in certain things, right? And all those data which is captured on the customer end is goes back all the way to the supplier, whether it's a reseller or it's a distributor, and then they can start to take action on it. Not only this, we also have, when suppose it is yes and no kind of, it's a binary, right? What if I'm working on a deal, I'm a reseller, I'm working on a deal, and I'm getting continuous feedback, and I want to share those feedback with my, say, distributor or my vendor. So platform also has those features where you can constantly update the notes, where you have like notes for supplier, and you can write, hey, I'm working on this. So you can just go and say negotiation progress, and then you can write notes about what is going on in negotiation side of things and all those things.
Oh, wow. And I can see, getting that back into the platform and even sharing that back into their CRM where they're keeping a lot of this stuff. And then during their QBRs, right, I always like to, at the end of my quarter, if things that didn't renew, the question is why, and if you have those answers, you can start digging into them and look for issues. That's really, really helpful when it comes to churn, right?
Yeah.
So this is another one. So this webinar, we targeted this webinar specifically just for vendors who are looking to implement. But I think the questions coming up is like, so this is a vendor portal, but is it also a distributor portal? Is it a reseller portal, marketplace? And even can the customers go in and see a list of their inventory, if you will? I'm a customer. Can I see a list of all my inventory of the renewals and products, et cetera? Given that the data is there, can we make that available to a customer as well?
So yes, we have a customer portal. So every single thing, whenever, say, for example, reseller is sharing with the customer any renewal codes or any renewal opportunity, that goes as an incumbent data for the end customer also. So when they log in, they can see what all renewals are coming up. We also have capability where end customers can, irrespective of the reseller or the vendor, they can bring in their complete install base data, the complete renewal or recurring product data into our platform, and they can also start to manage it. Like they can figure out that what is coming up for renewals and all those things.
So that's why when you talked about the filtered view, right, based on the profile or whoever's logging in, those views are filtered to who's looking at it, right? The distributor will see his view, the reseller will see his view and his contracts, and a customer can have a further filter that's enforced by the platform. They just see their stuff and they can interact with them however the platform's allowing them to interact with.
Yes, that's right.
That's interesting. Let's see. I'm looking at some other questions here. Oh, I'm going to let you answer this one. It says, can the system create the quotes automatically, or do we need to create them manually? And I'm going to answer that one just because it's that was at the very beginning we talked about the automation. So the answer is yes. I mean the whole idea behind the automation platform is to create the quotes automatically, because that's the big time saving, especially for resellers who need to get the quote from the distributor, put their margins in, put it into their formats, right? A lot of that's done manually, and it takes sometimes an hour or even 2 hours, depending on how big it is. And that's the biggest benefit you're going to get by putting a platform like this out to your resellers. And one of the reasons they don't want to proactively work on these things is because it takes so much time. So they just wait for the customer to ask. Now we say, instead of giving them data and say, go make a quote, which is kind of delivering them a problem, you actually say, here is the quote, and the platform can actually send it on to their email, to their end user customer. Just saves them, hundreds of hours putting these things together. So the answer is that. So sorry, Manish, I wanted to just take that one. I got a couple other ones coming in here too. Let's see here. Yeah, I think we covered this in the presentation, but I'll bring it up again because it is such a hot topic with all our vendors, which is consolidation, right? Co-terming. How does the platform deal with that? Why don't you just say a few more words about that? Because that is now, as we start to roll these out with our vendors and they go, wow, automation is great. And on these now that, in fact, the biggest use of the marketplace is what services can I modify, and co-terming and consolidation seems to be the big one.
So as you know, right, it often happens, and based on our experience with so many vendors, that there are contracts which for the same customer over the period of time, there are a bunch of contracts. So what in our platform automatically identifies those customers who have multiple contracts which can be consolidated. It flags it. Once you select that customer, all their contracts, it shows up. You can select that what all contracts you want to consolidate, because at times you may not want to consolidate particular contract because it may have a different terms and condition. So you can select those, and once you select those, you can kind of quote on them. System automatically recommend what is the date to which you should be quote-terming based on.
It recommends first the contracts that can be consolidated based on customer number, bill to, ship to IDs, whatever details are there. And then you're saying, then it says, here is the recommended new expiration date for all of these contracts.
All of these contracts. And once you decide, and of course, system recommends one date, you can decide if you want to put another date, you can go and change it. And then based on that, you can build a quote in the system, and system builds a quote for you. Now you can go and work with your customers on those codes. And once it, of course, it closes, then the entire process in the back end starts of closing the earlier one, merging, creating new one, and all those things. If you already have a system entitlement database where you already manage these things, we can just pass this information to you, and your system can take care of it from that point onwards.
Yeah, that kind of fits into one of the other questions that came in, which is who's responsible for updating the opportunity, right? How does the opportunity get updated, right? We saw the automation says I can see that I sent the opportunity to the reseller. I can see that the reseller opened the opportunity, they downloaded it. If it gets sold, how does that get updated in the system? I mean, I imagine there's a number of ways that we can get that data back when it closes, because we don't want to keep sending them notifications, for one thing. And the other thing is we want to get that information back, into the platform as quickly as possible. How does that, who's responsible for it, and how does that happen along the way?
So it depends on, so while we capture all kind of various stages of renewal, Patrick, so whether we are talking about it's negotiation stage or purchase order in progress in various different stages. Really, the data, it depends on, there are two different ways. One, and it depends on where the actual entitlement database lies. If vendor has their own entitlement database where they are maintaining all the contracts and subscription, we pass on this information to them. And once they update their system based on their rules and logic, whatever, we get that feedback and update our system, right? So that is one thing, like if entitlement database, if it is with vendor. Other thing is, suppose a vendor, many vendors come to us, they say, hey, we don't have anything, everything is Excel. We say, okay, in that case, we become entitlement database for them.
Yeah.
So we start to manage all their contracts, subscription, and we start to update our install base or contract database. So that's the idea. We can work off, if vendor has their own, we can get the feed through APIs and work, versus if they don't have anything, they can use Yagna as their entitlement database and everything works. So irrespective where this contract entitlement database lies, everything else remains same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's important to always maintain a single source of truth somewhere. And if you have it, we want to use it. And again, updating the records as it goes along. A lot of the updates to the opportunity is happening automatically because we see who's opening, closing, modifying, etc. And then when the order is placed, we don't really get involved with that at the transaction level, because that's usually a well-defined workflow. But when it happens, so the customer purchases it, they send it to a purchase order to the reseller or a credit card, whatever. That order gets placed at the distributor, and then whatever the distributor does to update that record, whether it's a POS report or a direct transaction, however that happens, that goes back into the single source of truth and updates, and we just pull that back into the system. So we keep things updated that way. Got it. So there's multiple ways that we're updating the transaction. That's fantastic. Let's see. I'm just looking at a couple of other ones. We have maybe 2 or 3 more minutes. Get that one. Oh, here's a good one. Security. We got a lot of data, a lot of customer data. Let's talk a little bit about security, right? How does the system secure all this data that all these people are trying to access?
This is my favorite question, and we are asked all the time, right? And not surprising. So I want to start by saying that Yagna is a ISO 27K one compliant platform. So what it means is we have a well-defined process how we deal with our customers data. So there are all the policies and procedures in place. So that is one thing. Companies biggest of the companies, these are like security companies, big software companies, they all trust us with their data because, so one is we have all these processes, but when you come on board, we are even open for some of the audits of our systems. So we say like, okay, these are our certification. This is what we do. But if you want to have us audited via a third party, without disclosing, of course, any data, but we are open for that also. So that's how it it works. And we have extensive like personal policy and then devices policy, and there are a bunch of policies that we follow, and that's how we are ISO 27001 compliant. We are also like Cisco, Casper certified. Like they have done audits of our system, so that is already done.
Specific. Yeah, so we not only do you have the ISO 27000, but a lot of the large vendors that we're working with, we got to go through their gauntlet, if you will, of security controls and maintain that, and we've done that for multiple household name Fortune 10 companies.
So that's how it works, and we have all privacy policy, which is of course ISO is equivalent to SOC 2 compliance, GDPR compliance. At no point of time your data can go outside your organization without your written consent. So that is what is our base. And I have been if you heard, I have been talking about that all the sensitive information, whether it's a personal information or any sensitive information, is always reside with you and only you. Nobody has access to it. Got it.
Yeah, well, that's important when you're dealing with so much sensitive data and so many people, and somebody has to control it. So that's fantastic. So we have a few more questions. I'll try to answer them offline. I know we're running out of time here, but Manish, this has been very interesting. And let me tell you, in all my years, I've been working in international distribution. Renewal Cloud has just been a game changer for that. In the last 40 minutes, we really only scratched the surface of how an automation platform like this can increase the on-time renewal rates and enhance that partner experience while reducing friction in the channel, which is always partner experience, friction in the channel, especially when we're talking long tail. Those are the holy grails of increasing sales as well. So for our viewers who want to learn more about how Renewal Cloud can boost their renewal metrics, contact Yagna, set up a demo. We can even install a free proof of concept using your data, as we talked about how easy it is to get that data in, and we can use your go-to-market sales motion. So make sure you follow Yagna IQ on LinkedIn, and that way you'll get invites to the next webinar where we're going to dig a little bit more into such topics like AI and how it enhances the partner and customer experience, because that's the big topic that that are happening now. So anyways, Swati, I want to thank everyone for showing here. Swati, thank you for putting this together for us. And again, reach out to us if you have any other questions. And thank you very much for your time.